and when I went through your book was, on, changing niches and, people having to move from one niche to the other because they feel that I'm not able to get clients in this niche. And so maybe I should just switch my niche and I'll get clients. And how exactly does that not solve the problem of client acquisition?
So fundamentally, as long as you are not selling newspapers, which is what I give as the example in the book, as long as you're not truly selling ice to Eskimos, as long as you're selling something that people want, which a lot of times is the problem, right? As long as you're selling something people want, if you're a marketer, for example, and you're trying to sell, getting more leads or making more sales, everyone wants that, right? So there's really no disconnect there. The issue is usually that you have a lack of skill in some way, and the problem that rises is when you start trying to switch avatars or switch niches, you end up having to start over again because you have to learn the avatar, you have to learn their desires, you have to learn how to speak to them, you have to learn what their problems are. And the thing that I kind of go with is that all of those will work, but none of them will work if you try to make them all work, right? So you have to grow through elimination, right? Because I'm a big believer in the theory of constraint. We'll grow to the constraint that we have, and most people, and this is one that maybe everyone in the audience can replicate or can resonate with. When I see an entrepreneur who's doing $1 million or 5 million or 10 million or whatever, and they say, well, I'm going to start this other vertical. I'm going to start this other thing. What ends up happening is that this one goes up and their main one goes down, and they're still doing $10 million, except they have more overhead now. And so you can't be CEO of two companies, right? Like, think about how many publicly traded CEOs exist that are CEOs of two companies. There's only one person that anyone ever gives, and they say Elon Musk, but he's actually not. He's not the operator. He's the owner or founder of those companies, and he has people who run them. But the point is that you're probably not Elon Musk if you're still struggling to make your first sales. So if that's the situation, then let's just cross him off the equation and say that no one is doing CEO of multiple companies. And so the issue is a lot of times with the definitions, right? So it's like, I'm owner, but so you hire one person because you're one person. You figure, oh, well, I'm one person, I'll hire one person, and there we go, and I'll have a passive business. But the reality is that there's so many shades of what we do because we're really just fractionally doing like 8 different jobs, right? So you're head of customer service, your VP of sales, your chief marketing officer, your CEO, you're also owner, right? And you're doing all of these roles. And so you maybe replace the fulfillment, but you still have to be CMO, you have to be still VP of sales, you still have to be the owner, you still have to be all these other hats. And so if you're trying to imagine doing that for 2 businesses or 3 businesses, it becomes a work equation that doesn't work and people can't solve it, right? And that's why they burn out and give up, because they're spread too thin. There's not enough heat for the amount of pans on the stove. And so the formula, in case anyone's listening, I'm not sure how developed the audience is, but for 0 to 1 million, which is most people are starting out, right? It's 1, 1, 1. All right. It's one product to one avatar on one channel. And if you're like, well, I'll do one product, one avatar, one channel on each of my businesses. No. It's one product to one avatar on one channel. And you will fail, and you will continue to fail until you succeed. And then at that point, it will begin to work. And most of the time, in my opinion, the reason I started all the series of books with the offer is that getting customers shouldn't be difficult. The difficulty should be in the fulfillment, which means being good at your craft. All right, because what happens a lot of times is people think they need to learn more promotion, more sales, and that's true to a degree, right? But it's, in my opinion, easier to just make a more compelling offer, do more for your clients, even if you only have a handful of them. That is not scalable, and that's okay, because you need to generate cash flow and make sales. Learn as much as you can, get better at your craft, and then in time, create a more scalable offer as you learn what they value, what they don't value, what takes you time, what doesn't take you time, and as you ultimately get better. Right. And so that's kind of like the Tesla model too. It's like you start with the most expensive thing at the top, you start there. And then as you build that and you brand position as being elite there, then you can do a mid-level. And then over time, you can trickle down and do a larger, lower cost item for the base of the pyramid. Most people do it backwards and do it wrong and, try and compete against lots of people when they're not even that good. And that's the reality, right? Is most people don't make money because they're just not that good at the thing they think they're good at. Because if they were good, then they would be making money.
Absolutely. And when you said start with the most expensive thing, I notice when I tell people charge more, or start with what they say, I won't get people who will pay me that money, or how do I get people to pay me that much, right? So how do you usually communicate that to overcome that particular mind challenge?
Yeah. So people won't pay you for the value you're currently trying to provide. That's the issue, right? Is that they won't pay you for what you're, for what you're trying to provide them, right? But if you try and provide in excess of that, and so as a thought experiment or a thought example, think of this. Let's say we said, well, if you're selling any kind of B2B thing, right, which would be like how to increase how much money you make. Let's just start there, because there's a lot of people who are in here probably in that space. If I were to say I can double how much you're making, or if people aren't making money who you're serving, then I say I can add $10,000 a month to your income within 90 days, guaranteed, or I'll pay you twice the cost of the program at the end of the 90 days. How difficult would it be for you to sign people up? Not hard at all. How difficult would it be for you to get someone to pay you $10,000 to make $10,000 a month? Well, considering colleges graduate people who were going to make $50,000 after waiting 4 years, and people pay $200,000 for that, I think it's reasonable to believe that people would pay between $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 for that skill. And so then the question is, or what I would normally get after that is like, well, I can't do that, Alex. I don't know how to get someone, I can't guarantee that outcome. Then it's like, aha, then let's solve the problem, which is that you don't know how to do that. Now we have a solvable proposition that we can get better at. Whereas I don't know how to get customers. Sure, that is also a solvable thing. But in my opinion, you would be best served honing the craft and finding a way to fill in such a way that you could guarantee that within reason. And if that's the thought experiment, and on the other extreme, you have buy my thing and maybe you win and maybe you don't, and I get paid either way, that's the essence of what most people's offer is, if we just boiled it down to soups and nuts, right? And so if this is one extreme where everybody says yes and lots of people want to buy from you, and on this extreme you have, it's very difficult to get customers, there is somewhere on this continuum, ideally 1 or 2 shades from this side, right, from the more compelling side, that you can sell and can offer and can fulfill on in a way that will get people better results. So the example that I give for a lot of agencies, because a lot of people who are starting out learn how to run Facebook ads, it's a basic skill, and then they try and sell those services. If I were starting over again, I would not try and do that. What I would do is I would go find the avatar that I like locally and say, okay, Mr. Dry Cleaner, or Mr. Chiropractor, or Mr. Whatever, I will run your ads for free, and I would like to own the entire process. And so, hey, you just cover the advertising, I'll work your leads, I'll work your front desk, I'll sell the people. And what you could even do is just negotiate a bulk rate. Hey, if I got you 1,000 customers tomorrow, what's the lowest you could possibly do it for? Maybe he says $200 for whatever the widget is, right? And you say, cool. And then you go ahead and sell it for 800. And you make 600 on every one of these deals, and you pay him his 200 to go fulfill, and the rest of it's margin, right? The beauty is that you would learn every aspect of how to provide value to that avatar. Because I'll tell you a story to drive this home. I had an agency owner who was on our software platform, and I have, we have one call every month or something that I hop on. And I've seen, it's the same conversation every month. Hey, my customers suck. No one wants to pay me, blah, blah, blah. And I, over and over again, I was like, you're not good. That's why they're not paying you. You're not very good. You need to get better. Right. Yeah. And so every time I was like, dude, stop saying that they tell you that their system's bad. And you say it's good and they say it's bad. Why don't you go? And he was selling to realtors. He was selling leads to realtors to sell houses. And I said, go get your real estate license. Go work the leads that you're getting right now and go sell some houses for a year. Then when people say that something's not working, you can help them because you've actually done it. Everyone's so consumed with trying to sell something they've never done that they're surprised that they're not good at it.
Absolutely.
It's the business guru who coaches on how to have a business, who never had a business, and his entire business was coaching on how to have businesses, right? Yeah. That guy never gets big. You'll make some money, but you'll never get big.
True. And someone here is asking, how can we guarantee results on the relationship market, dating, family, marriage, etc.? So if you want to
say that one more time.
Yeah, how can we guarantee results on the relationship market? That's dating, family, marriage. Like, how do you transfer that same guarantee to those kind of markets?
It's great. So with those types of markets, you just create the guarantee around the experience that they want to have. All right. Yeah. So this is what's the beauty of being creative as a marketer or a business owner. And I'm not saying the first guarantee is going to hit, but if you interview your customers and you say, describe to me what you want your marriage to look like. Describe to me what you want to have happen. For some of them, it might be, we go on dates again, right? We go on dates together once a week. That might be what it looks like. It might be, we finally sleep together again after a long time. We haven't been together. it might just be that like we wake up in the morning, we don't hate each other, or we haven't had an argument in a week, right? It could be any of those types of outcomes depending on what type of marriages or solution. I'm just using marriage as an example, right?
Yeah.
And so it'll probably have to be around something a little bit more intangible, right? Now, the key here is, even if you have something that is intangible, you can still guarantee it because the goodwill from customers typically will still surpass the desire to refund. What I mean by that is, let's say you've got 10 customers, and normally if you sold your normal services, you'd only have 3, right? But if you sell with a guarantee, maybe you get 10, all right? Of the 10, maybe 2 of them say, I didn't experience the result you were looking for, right? Now, of the other 8, let's say you're promising they're going to sleep with their partner within 90 days. I'm just throwing it out there, just as a crazy example, all right? And let's say at the end of 90 days, they didn't sleep with their partner. But if their relationship is significantly better and they feel like they are making progress towards that goal, they will not ask for a refund. People want to see progress, right? And so what's important is, and also in terms of the language, the messaging you use when you're talking to your audience, this is what I try and talk to in terms of everyone here when I'm talking to entrepreneurs, is that we have this psychological bias again towards binary thinking, which is yes or no, good marriage, bad marriage, right? When it's much more to what extent or how good is my marriage, right? So it's a rate, it's a scale, it's not yes or no. And so if you can teach your clients to think on a continuum rather than in the binary, you'll shift their thinking enough that it won't even matter, because if they've made that frame shift, then you will have gotten them on a progression that they will be able to continue to improve over time, and they will contribute that improvement to the intervention that you've provided for them.
Got it. So basically, it's selling the experience to them and basically ensuring that they get progress along the journey. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so I would just like to ask, like, when it comes to qualifying the avatar that deserves your Grand Slam offer, right? I mean, you won't just put together a very good offer and give it to anyone, because it might be difficult to get them results because maybe they have a broken system or something. So how did you make that process work? I know you started with gyms, but in other verticals where it's difficult to predict certain things, how would you do so?
Yeah, I mean, we have business opportunity companies. We have photography companies for children. We have a company that does, like I said, we have a software that does lead working. We have an e-commerce company. We have the licensing company. So we have a vast array of different companies. That we have a certification company, vast array of different things. The important part is, I actually totally forgot the question. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I mean, qualifying avatars, right? That's you would be able to give.
Yeah. So you can increase the quality of your product by increasing the quality of your prospects. I'll say again, you can increase the quality of your product when you increase the quality of your prospects. And so the easiest way to look at this is look at the customers that you like the most, the ones who have had the most success, who sing your praises, right? Sing your songs. And look at them and then compare them to the people who you do not like, who haven't had a good experience. And then what you do is you go backwards 90 days and say, what was the experience the people who had in their first month? What are the things they did that were different than the people who failed? Once you can delineate what those things were, it might be milestones that are achieved. It might be a certain percentage of material that was watched. It could have been coaching calls attended, whatever type of solution you're providing, marriage, weight loss, business, whatever, right? It could be any of those things, right? And there's probably some associated action that has to go with it. If it was weight loss, it might be logging food. If it was business, it might be sending emails. If it was marriage, it might be putting, filling out the checklist of things they love about their partner, whatever it is, right? What are those milestones that have to occur to activate the customer so that they're likely to experience the outcome that you are promising them? And so what the metrics of your customer journey should look like, and your customer success team should be driving towards those activation points, those milestones. So if we know that people who have both spouses who fill out the checklist of the things they like about each other and their favorite memories of their relationship, we know that if both people fill that out and they attend 2 calls in their first 14 days, the likelihood that they finish the program and experience great results is 3 times as high. So then all of your effort goes towards pushing them through that milestone so that they can change the color of their flag and then get to where you want to go. So that's ultimately how you can change. And when you're looking at reverse, that's the experience side, that's the fulfillment side. But you might also note that this person has a business or is gainfully employed, and this person is unemployed and a stay-at-home mom. Okay, well then these are the people, not only they did this experience, which I'm going to try and do on my back end, but on the front end, I'm going to try and weed out these people and actively select for these people. And then what's beautiful about that is an element of niching, right? And so when you're making your messaging, you're making your creative and your marketing, you can speak more specifically to that avatar rather than all marriage, relationships that you're helping. You help, stay-at-home moms with working husbands achieve a better marriage who are between the ages of 30 and 50. If you're that avatar, you're like, shit, that's me. Or it's, I help entrepreneurial men, fall back in love with their wives again, whatever, right? Like whatever your outcome is, but you can be more specific about it. And in so doing, you can command higher prices because you can provide more tailored solutions, which in a very real way provides more value to that avatar, even if the fulfillment looks the same.
Got it. So, so basically, let's assume now this is my space is basically course creation. I help course creators. So if I want to work with people who are more further along in their course journey and who have made certain sales, right? I basically have to, it affects. I basically have to like tailor my, and for me, I focus more on course creators who are like in the business course space, who are trying to sell courses that give people a financial ROI, right? So it's just basically tweaking your messaging to focus on those people and weed out every other person who is in other spaces.
100%.
Yeah, awesome.
So I'll give you an example, and for some reason it's harder for people, but the thing is that they don't change the economics of their business when they change the economics of the avatar. And that's where you get into trouble. So for example, whatever your price point you're selling at right now, if you change your avatar from anybody who's a course creator to people who have high business ROI, then you'll probably be providing far more value to those people. One, because your process will be more tailored to their approach, but also because if they're selling business stuff, then they're probably going to be able to charge higher premiums for it. And so as a result, if they experience a transformation using your system, et cetera, then they're going to make real money, right? And so if you decide to be more selective with that avatar, then that should be reflected in the pricing and the fulfillment that goes along with that. So the easy example is we made a decision very early on, because I was in the gym space, that we were helping gym owners. We were not helping personal trainers. We're not helping online trainers. We're not helping health coaches. We're helping just micro gym owners. And so by doing that, half to 2/3 the volume that I would get every single day of people that were opting in for stuff were not qualified. But the people who tried to compete with us and tried to sell all of them wasted so much time because the LTV of those customers was so low and the amount that they required was so high. And the amount that you'd have to go from 0 to 1 for so many of these people, which is the heaviest lifting in all of business, is getting someone to make their first dollar. I had no interest in doing that. I wanted to take people who are making $500,000 a year and get them to $1 million. A very simple outcome. That's all I'm doing. And we would just do that. We take you from $500,000 to $1 million, $500,000 to $1 million, because that's something that I can repeatedly do over and over and over again. And I can demonstrate that value in a very, very high degree of success. And so if I do that, then I have a very demonstrable way to provide value, and I can monetize that value accordingly. And I can do it with lots of operational efficiency, since the process is so clear cut between each customer.
Awesome. So talk to us a bit about grow or die. I mean, that's one of your tenets in your company, right? You talked about is it market efficiency, or basically the market is growing by 30% every year, and if you don't keep up, you basically are going backwards. So how do you tweak your offers in your companies every single year, or every single what period of time? How do you work around it?
I think it's more understanding that it's more about embracing change and about being flexible. In terms of like the goals that we set, you would be surprisingly bored by the types of goals that we set within our company. I can tell you the last quarter's goals, we always trickle back to the same things, because it's either, if we're going to grow, we can only do two things. We can either get more customers, or we can make them worth more. That's it. And so we'll have 2 to 3 goals tops. We never have more than that for the company. That'll be like, okay, well, we're going to take wherever we see the weakest point within our pipeline, which maybe the pipeline's great. It's like, okay, well, we just need to double front end volume, but I wouldn't make the goal of doubling front end volume. I would probably make the goal of bumping front end volume by 10 to 15%. That would be the goal for the quarter. And I would say we need to take our customer ascension from 40% to 50%. That would be the back end upgrade, right? That would be, one is getting more customers. The second is making them worth more. And that would be literally the goal for the entire company. And so then the directors would come up and say, okay, well, I think in order for us to get a 15% boost in volume, based on our total call volume right now, we would need to add 3 more outbound development reps to the call team. And that would mean we need to add 1 sales development specialist, which is our mid-level salesperson, and 1 more closer. It's like, okay, so we need to hire 5 people, and great. That's what we're going to do. And maybe we need to hire 6 or 7 because we might not get the ones that we want to keep on the first go around. That's what we're going to do for the front end. That is the tactics of how that's going to happen. And then on the back end, what we're going to do is we're going to add, these 2 touch points in, and we're going to make this process that's been a little bit difficult for them a little easier, so that hopefully we can get another 10% of those people to upgrade. I mean, that is how we improve the business. We're not doing rocket science here. We're just trying to incrementally improve these things. And if I improve by 15% on both those metrics every quarter, in 6 quarters, the numbers become crazy, right? And so I think a lot of people are they try to solve 100 problems at the same time, and it's impossible for your team. You need focus. Focus is knowing what you're going to say no to, not what you want to do. There's 100 things we all should do. And for perspective for everyone, we crossed 50 million in sales before we started doing email follow-up.
Wow.
Because I always felt like there were other opportunities that had more juice to squeeze than email follow-up for me in my business. And so that whole time when we were at 10 million, at 20 million, at 30 million, we should have been doing email follow-up. But there were other things we should have done more, which is what we did. And so it's just about knowing what we're going to say no to and the 1 or 2 things that we're going to say yes to, because I think most people wildly overestimate what they can accomplish in a short period of time.
True. So now, because you said there are so many problems that a business or an individual or a market faces, and in your book you said we should solve every single problem, right? And this is basically tackling. I mean, how does that? Because when I tried to introduce that to some people, it felt like it's a lot of work. Literally writing about 120 something problems, right? And trying to solve every one of them. So, I mean, how does that affect your marketing overall? So
you have to solve every perceived problem, right? The way in which you solve that comes down to the delivery cube, which is in the book, right? So I'll give an example. Let's say I'll use weight loss because everyone understands it. So if I had a girl and she needs to lose weight, there's a lot of things that she has to do that are different now than she was doing before. So she might now have to buy groceries differently than she did before she started working with me, right? Just as a simple example. Now, there is a zillion ways I can solve that problem. So it's not that you have to go grocery shopping for every customer. It's that you have to solve the problem around the difficulty of grocery shopping. So, for example, I could have a pre-made Instacart for 6 sets of customers at different weights that I could copy and paste to her, and then she could click 1 click and she gets it ordered to her house. Easy. I could make custom lists. I could make an Excel sheet that adjusts based on every customer if they enter their weight in, that adjusts the grocery list for the week. That's the second one. I could make pre-made lists, not even a calculator, just pre-made PDFs for 100 different, weight scales. And so that way it's still tailored to them, but I do that work up front. And then after that, it's just plug and play, right? I could do a large group grocery shopping tour. So everyone meets there and then we go grocery shopping together. If I want to do it virtually, I could do a virtual grocery store, or I could do the live one, record it, and then make that the thing that I'm saying is a fulfillment. I could also do a one-on-one grocery kind of I'll help them create it together as a one-on-one session as a bonus for signing up for my weight loss program. I could, you see what I'm saying here? There's one problem. And we just looked at how many, I could offer text support. So when you go to the grocery store, you can text me and I'll help you pick anything that if you have trouble with it. I could have phone call support. The list goes on. And so it's really just limited by your creativity in terms of what you want to do. Notice half of those things were not creating anything. It was just being available, right? And if I had text support compared to a PDF, most people would probably value the text support higher. I may or may not be willing to do that on a level of fulfillment, which again, I would go back to my first tenet, which is if you don't have that many customers, be willing to do more so that you can over deliver, learn more about them, and then over time become more operationally efficient. But big picture, yes, we want to solve every problem in some way. And then over time, what will improve your product and your business is how effectively you solve that problem relative to the cost to you.
Absolutely.
That is fundamental. Like Amazon took tons of time to invest in building that infrastructure, but now the marginal cost of a new customer on Amazon is nothing, right? Or very low, right? And so you can either put the workload on the front end, you can put it on the back end. I prefer to do it on the front end and consistently improve on it. And that's where you have customer surveys. And as you're fulfilling, which is why I like more hands-on approaches in the beginning, because you're learning more about the customer, right? Like that data and the stories behind what you're going to discover there are so valuable. It's silly not to do it, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, when it now comes to selling this offer, right? You are putting out this offer, and usually when we say we're on sales calls, we basically have 1 to 5 things we just want to double around, 3 to 5 things we want to say on this call. How then do you include all this? Do you just wait for them to get to the point of the objection, and then you just, if they say I can't do this, then you tell them, oh yeah, I have this covered. So is that how you think around
yes.
when it comes to,
if you're in a one-on-one selling, in a one-on-one selling situation, you want to include those bonuses because you want to over deliver. So if I didn't promise you something, and then when you buy it, you get more than I promised you, you're happy. That's the point. We want happy customers. If when we get on the sales call, they say, I got to think about it, then we would ask the first, the simplest question in all of sales, which is, what's your main concern? What are you afraid of having happen? If this went poorly, what would that look like? And what they'll do is they'll tell you what their fears are. And then it's up to us to say, totally understand. Every customer I have has the exact same fears. And here's how we make sure that's not going to happen. Fair enough. And then we go for the sale, right? So it's just and if they say no, it's like, what else is your main concern? What else are you concerned about? Right? And then they'll tell you something else. And you're like, totally understand. So what we did to make sure you do that, little quick anecdote about how we made it. And that's how you won't have to struggle with that issue. Fair enough. And we just keep going back over and over and over again about how we've solved the problem. And then we present the offer again.
Yeah. And when you were traveling to gyms at the start of your journey, and you were helping them get more customers, were you also working on their offers? And how did you convince
their
them?
offers?
On their offers. Like,
so for them,
So
for them, I already knew what the offer was.
Okay.
So I already had the best converting offer, and I already had all the bonuses made. So I white labeled all of the bonuses that I had spent all my time providing. So you're like, how am I going to do all this work? I'm like, I already did all the work for you. I made the grocery list. I made the food preparation instructions. I made the eat out guide. I made the lick your fingers lunches, the delectable dinners, the banging breakfast, the shake guide. I made all of those things, and I made them for 4 different weight classes. So they had 40 different deliverables that they could just slap their logo on. And then I showed the video on how to slap your logo on this thing so that they could make it easier for them. Yeah. Right? I provided all that stuff, and then I spent my own money. I worked the leads myself. I sold them myself, and then I taught them how to fulfill those customers in person. And I did that for almost 2 years. And so we were like, they do it one time, and they're like, why am I not a guru? It's like, well, you have to be really good.
I think that's probably the reason why the niching thing is really important, right? Really niching to an avatar that you can really, like, you have basically everything laid out for them. You can just plug and play. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. So, basically when it comes to pricing, okay, I think I've asked you this already. When you said at the beginning of your journey, you were basically building out of scarcity, as you were building your businesses out of scarcity because you wanted to make money. Now, if you had to go back in time, because quite a number of people here are probably at that spot where they need to make money, and now you are basically giving it all away. Would you still be, quote unquote, giving it all away if you went back in time with your mindset currently, when you are in terms of building your business and starting out more? How would you approach?
It's a great question. I think that I would more quickly pivot to where I'm at now, and probably instead of taking so long to do it. But I mean, I would still satisfy my immediate needs. You know what I mean? Like if I need to go make money, I would go make sure that I was making money, but I might do it differently. And so that's one of the difficulties, is that like I have context and skills now that I didn't have when I started. So if I were to start over again, I would probably be able to do things that I didn't know how to do when I started. So I would see opportunities in a very different way. I would know how to build the business so much faster than I do now, than I did then. And so, I mean, if you're operating out of scarcity, I completely understand. I tend to just lean towards stop trying to be cute and stop trying to be fancy, and just find an avatar that you like and do everything you can to solve their problem. right? Everyone just gets so obsessed with their revenue metrics and the other thing that they forget about the customer. So like, just go crazy on the customer. And if you can do that, you'll make the money. And then you can like, ultimately the more money you make is the longer you give before you ask, the more money you'll make. And I'll tell you a big wealth secret. If you give enough, you don't ever have to ask. People will just come to you and they'll give to you without you ever asking.
Basically better than the jab, right hook.
Right. I mean, Gary Vee talks about it too. So it's not just me. Like, he talks about it as he's mentioned this. So it's not me saying anything different than him. But if you just give more, and so the real is, if you can satisfy your immediate needs, right? You can satisfy your immediate needs for food and shelter. If you can take a longer term perspective, you will win much better, much faster, because goodwill multiplies faster than revenue. And so you want to hold back that ask as long as humanly possible. And if you do hold it back as long as humanly possible, you'll be surprised that you will monetize without even needing to try. Yeah. This is just my firsthand experience with this. And you might be like, Alex, sure, you can say that now because you've X, Y, and Z. And sure, right, I can't have a long-term perspective because I don't need any of that stuff. But I'm telling you, it is a better business strategy. Like, it is. And that's why you look at the biggest companies in the world that they give so much value for free. And they find other ways to monetize it. Right? Like Gmail, it's free. Like, how crazy is that? It's free. They made Gmail for free, right? Yeah. Google, we could use it for free. We get to use YouTube for free. It's nuts, right? And they find other ways to monetize it. So that's kind of the idea here, is that, like, and a lot of times when people are starting out, they're afraid of giving their secret sauce away. And the answer is, you should always just give away as much as you humanly can. And I know that I'm giving away the quote right amount when I'm afraid of how much value I'm giving.
Awesome.
Like, if you're not afraid of how much you're giving away, it's not enough.
Yeah.
Like, you should have anxiety about it.
Yeah. Awesome. So someone is asking, and I think I'll just tie this to the the passive likelihood of achievement. She says, how do you handle clients on calls asking for testimonial or references for a new offer? And basically, I think that's basically trying to communicate to them that they are more like, the likelihood of results is high, but this time is a new offer. So how do you do so? Do you frame it that? How do you frame it basically?
Well, you run a beta group. That's like, if you've never done it before, then don't promise something. Go take 20 people and say, I'll do it for free as long as you give me a testimonial and you give me fair feedback so I can help you throughout this process. I spent 2 years going from gym to gym for no money. So I lived this. People do it for a month. I did it for 2 years. I'm just putting perspective on this. Like, the wider the base of the pyramid, which is the foundation that you decide to lay in terms of the depth of your skill, the taller the peak is. There's no, for fear of sounding trite, there's no shortcut. Like, the height of your pyramid will be determined by your skill set, the depth of your skill, the depth of your roots that you've planted. And the depth comes from repetition. It comes from volume. It comes from skill. It comes from time, right? It's time under the bar. And a lot of people just aren't willing to do that. And that's why most people won't achieve the level of success they desire. They want it so bad, they're not willing to wait. But the only way to get it is to wait long enough that it becomes inevitable.
Yeah. Sometimes it's so hard.
That's my
to
2 cents.
Yeah. It looks so hard to wait at sometimes, because you really have to cover the bills and all. But
it's just because of comparison, though. It's not actually hard to wait. Mm-hmm. My dad said this to me, and I think there's some wisdom in it. He said, you know what? No matter how much money you make, he said, chicken tastes like chicken and rice tastes like rice. Nothing changes. It's just people feel like they're, quote, falling behind from some dude on Instagram who's probably lying, right? It's just, and even like in my stuff, some people compare their numbers to my numbers. And like, how many years have you been in business right now?
My current offer is 2 years.
3 years, right? Yes. So for context, my third year in business, I think I made $50,000. My fourth year in business, I made $50,000, right? Yeah. And so, like, people see what we're doing now, and they're like, "Oh my God!" Like, I've spent almost a decade, and like, we're now just receiving some level of notoriety. And candidly, the other part of it is that we made our money doing the thing rather than teaching how to do the thing. And I think that's lost on a lot of people. Everyone gets to 10,000 a month and immediately makes the course on how to make 10,000 a month.
Yeah.
Right. Rather than, why don't you go to 100,000 a month? Why don't go to 1 million a month? Why don't you just keep doing the thing that you're doing?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Great. I mean, so much wisdom here. I think I'll just probably take this one as the last question. Someone says, how, as a virtual assistant, how do you position your agency for high-paying clients? So I guess that probably already. Do you have any specific, unique answer to that?
Well, I think there would be a business model question too. So, there's a number of different models you can do there. You could specialize in creating one specific type of service provider. So let's say you were like, I will train people on how to run ads. And so you say, hey, I'll give you a media buyer for $10,000 one time, and it'll be fully trained. And after that, it's only $200 a month, right? Or whatever the income of the VA is, right? That would be one model. Another model could be same concept in terms of what you do, but you might monetize by saying, hey, you can pay me $1,000 a month and I'll assign you a full-time rep. And you pay $200 a month to the person the whole time. And as long as they stay an employee of that company, that becomes a staffing play you become like a staffing company for payroll. That has very, very good enterprise value, has really good stick rates for the most part, as long as the people are good. And so it really just depends on what the skills. So again, if you have a high level of skill, you can teach people the high level skill, which means that you can sell the high level skill on their behalf to other people for more money. If you are not that skilled, you will not be able to teach a high level of skill. And so that you won't be able to sell a high level of skill on their behalf. So it all comes still back to what's the value that we can provide? And the better you can get at both acquiring the skill for yourself and teaching the skill in a replicable way, then if you do that, then you'll always be able to provide value, right? Because you're helping this person who's the VA get probably better income than they would normally be able to get. You're going to help the business owner get labor for lower than they normally would be able to make. And there's this nice delta of room, and that's where you can extract the value that you want for yourself for connecting the two.
Awesome. And just because I've heard you say this quite often, quite a while recently, about the 5 different channels of lead generation. I'm talking about own media, earned media, 6 rather, right? 6. Yeah, own media, earned media, paid traffic, outreach, and referrals. And I talk about 5 of them being linear, 1 being quadratic. Because someone here is asking about organic marketing, how you feel about it. So I feel that maybe you could just elaborate on that a little bit.
Sure. So, like Emmanuel just said, there's a lot of ways to acquire customers, right? And each of the strategies has pros and cons. If you're at 0 to 1 million, you just need to pick one. You have to pick one and become a master at it, because that's you when you're starting out. You have no leverage. Once you get higher up, you'll still probably need to learn a second one, or scale that one even higher to maybe 3 million a year. And then at that point, you'll have enough leverage from a monetary perspective that you can find someone who's good at another channel, bring them in, and then have them build out a second channel, and then find someone else who's good at it and build out another channel. You can't try and pay someone to learn it. That's a dumb idea. Find someone who's already done it for a business that's similar to yours, and then have them build out that team on that channel. So in terms of what are my feelings on organic marketing, I mean, I'm a huge fan if you're very good. Kylie Jenner, it's worked great for her. Kim Kardashian's worked great for her. Rihanna, it's worked great for her, right? So if you have star power and you're good on camera, or you look amazing, or you're amazing at delivering content, and the way that you define that is if you make stuff and people share it and subscribe to your channel or follow you or download your podcast, then you're good at it. If you do it and none of that happens, then you're not that good at it. And so I think the lesson, at least for the organic stuff, is you can start investing in that stuff now, because in time you'll get better at it, and it'll be a hockey stick. For 2 years, 3 years, nothing will happen. And then all of a sudden you'll get good enough after you make 100 videos or 200 videos, 300 videos. You'll learn your voice, you'll learn how to speak, you'll learn your keys, and you'll start to really develop something that becomes more interesting to an audience, right? It's okay to suck. I think everyone just doesn't give themselves permission to suck. But in terms of speed to money, right? Paid traffic is the fastest. It also requires the most skill and requires capital. So not everyone's in that situation. So if you're looking for the cheapest, fastest, then you're pretty much left with 3 channels, right? Which is going to be your owned media, which is all the contacts you already have in your cell phone, your followers on Facebook, on Instagram, your friends on Facebook, all those people have given you permission to access them. So that's the fastest and cheapest and probably highest likely to success for most people who are starting out. You probably have between all of those at least 2,000 people who, between all those sources I just said, that doesn't even include a customer list, just that. So it's 2,000 people you can reach out to. If you reach out to 100 people a day, it would take you 20 days just to get through the list once. So you could have multiple runs at that list, and you would probably have enough cash flow and experience to then go to either cold outbound, because you'd learn enough from the warm to extrapolate it to cold, which would be a second way, which is fast in terms of like you can make some money and it costs you very little because it's just your time. But scaling it requires people. So you have 2 people doing that, 5 people doing that, 20 people doing outbound on your behalf. The next way is affiliates, and that's probably like, if I had to start over tomorrow and I had to make a ton of money, it would be, how do I find partners that already have my client base that I can tap into and create some sort of value proposition to them to make it a win? And so my last 2 companies were off that strategy. You know what I mean? So my supplement company is based on affiliate network. It's not on any direct response.
Awesome.
So how do I feel about organic? If you're good at it, it's worth it. It takes time. And if you need to feed yourself today, I would do that so that eventually you'll get the dividends. But I would still, like, your money is going to be like, make sure you don't get obsessed with that. I would say take the 2 hours a week, do the 2 or 3 videos or podcasts or whatever it is that you want to do. And then the remainder of your week is focused on making money.
Awesome.
Ask about Facebook groups. Facebook groups are fine. It's just it's a version of owned or earned media.
Yeah. Yeah, awesome. And your book, the next book coming out, is it $100 million lead generation, or which of them exactly? Lead generation.
Yeah, I think it'll be lead generation. I think lead generation will be number 2. And then the third one will be money models, which is kind of the originally it was called monetization structures, but I have a feeling that doesn't sound as sexy as money models. So I'll call it money models. But it's basically all the different ways that you can structure offers to monetize off promotions. And so there's 19 different offer structures that I have in the book. It's one of the ones that I'm actually the most afraid of publishing. It was the first book I wrote because I think it's like the stuff that I geek out the most about, but I'm not sure if it's going to be too dense. So I might have to figure out how to make it really readable for people, because it's offer combinations, how to sell continuity, downsells, upsells, like all the different kind of like metrics and things like that you need to look at, but I'm not sure if it's going to be too boring. So I'm trying to make it really interesting.
All right. Yeah. And you basically have about 6 more. So you said, is it 9 in total?
I think I'll have 10 in total. Okay. I know the first 6, and I'm sure that once I write the 6, I'll probably have 3 or 4 more that'll come out of it. But it'll be, so we have offers first, we'll have lead generation second. I think money models will be third. Sales will be 4th. Sales teams will be 5th. Increasing lifetime gross profit per customer will be 6th. I'll probably come up with a sexier name for that, but that's what it is making more per customer. And then I'll probably end up making some sort of one around money, just money in general, money beliefs, wealth stuff. I'll probably make something around buying and selling businesses. And so I'll let it evolve over time. But the first 6 are pretty clearly defined. I already have those wireframed out, and the next 2 books are already pretty much written. I just have to go back over them and re-edit them and try and simplify them and make them easier to read and put more pictures in and all that stuff.
Awesome. Right. So, I mean, it's been really awesome, listening to you and get to speak with you and also getting to answer questions from everyone here. It's been a pleasure, right? So I would just like to know, what's next for you, maybe in the next, after you're done with all these, books, and then what's next?
Well, that'll probably take me a few years. So,
okay.
I mean, acquisition.com and the courses and books that are going to come out for free from there, that's kind of just a passion work. I'll probably continue to do that as I acquire more skills and as beliefs change. I'll probably also update some of them and re-release a few of them if like they change substantially or my views develop on them. But the phase that I'm entering is I'm trying to just deploy capital into small businesses. So, 3, 5, 10, $20 million businesses, and, invest in them and the entrepreneurs, and then also, use the resources that I have, the connections that I have, and then, whatever strategic insights I can provide to help them grow. So that's pretty much what I think my foreseeable future is going to be, is that. And then I'm I'll probably layer in a strong element of philanthropy beyond the obvious of just giving away everything for free for everyone who's not a company that I own.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of, so that's where it's at. And I think that, you know, Layla and I have the goal of giving away more than, as being the couple that gave the most. And so that's, you know, I don't know if we'll ever achieve that, but that is the goal we have. Because at the end of the day, like, there's one thing to hold it all and then donate a bigger number, because I think we'll be better at allocating capital than maybe a charity would be. But, you know, in some ways it's like, what's the point of accumulating it all, then dying and giving it away? It's like, I'd rather give less in an absolute amount and then enjoy the benefit. But then I think, is that me being selfish? So I go through all of these different versions of the same thing. And I'm like, well, does it matter if I'm being selfish? Because it won't matter anyways. So anyhow, that's not to get sidetracked, but that's where I head off into.
Awesome, man. Thanks so much. Thank you so much. Yeah. So for everyone listening, if you've not gotten Alex's book, definitely go get it and leave a review of the book. It's literally 22,000 copies in just 30 days, no ads, nothing. I mean, that's crazy. That's so it, and selling 1,000 copies per day. So that's really awesome. You know, it's a great book. I mean, it's a book that is so good you feel stupid not reading it, right? So yeah, I mean, it's so good, awesome. Yeah. So, and for those asking if they will be replayed, yes, they will be replayed. It's going to be my Facebook group. It's currently live. You know, the link is on my Facebook profile. Just go ahead and click and, you know, join. So, Alex, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for joining me, and so it's really a pleasure hosting you. Thank you for the wisdom as well so much. I'm going back to listen to this over and over again. Yeah. All right.
One quick ad for your
Yes.
audience. Yeah, one quick ad for your audience. So the book is 99 cents. If you're financially, you know, strapped right now, that's why I made it basically, you know, as free as I could make it on the platform. They wouldn't let me go cheaper than that. If you like listening and can shell out, I think it's like $12, because Amazon, I can't set the price for audio either. They set the prices on that. And then within any version of the book, you get access to the course, which is free on my website, acquisition.com. You don't have to opt in. There's no upsells. It's just all there. It's free. That goes to the course. It has the downloads, the checklist, the swipe files, everything that you need there to kind of do this in your business. All right. So if you're either creating another product line or another product offer, you're just getting started, I would start there between the book, the audio, and the visual. I just don't know how you learn, so you know you better. So I would consume it whatever way you learn best.
Yeah, I did it too. I got the audio and the visual at the same time. So it was just a lot easier for me.
$100 million offers is the name of the book. Acquisition.com is the website.
Awesome. All right, man. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate you. Honored to thank you to your audience, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
Yeah, sure.
Bye, guys.
All right. Bye.